We came out of Z-space, or zero space, a realm of white emptiness. Oh, I didn't know they changed the name of CMT to Z-space.
When I opened the book, I didn't know what I was gonna find. I saw the flashing light just coming down. Oh, what a beautiful sight. Then I was flying. Oh, super book. I was afraid to look. Super book. Oh, super book.
We open our book with a brief prologue describing the space battle that resulted in Elfangor and the Dome ship crashing to Earth, all from Ax's point of view. Ax is sounding much more alien this time around. The simple act of not comparing things can do real wonders. After that, we cut to modern times, where the Animorphs are detailing their next mission. After destroying the Kandrona and stopping the Velix, the Animorphs seem to be making much more military-precise plans, working out each detail to the minute, coming up with alternative exits, and laying out the worst-case scenarios. They are a well-oiled guerrilla fighting force now, and their mission? Take Ax to the movies. Yeah, it seems that on their off time, the Animorphs have been educating Ax on Earth customs. Ax figures if he can get out of this war alive, he can become the Andalites' main official on humans. Unfortunately, teenagers aren't exactly the bastions of culture, so instead of introducing Ax to all-time classics like Citizen Kane or Casablanca, or giving him a taste of films around the world with the works of Bergman, Fellini, Godard, and Kurosawa, or at least giving him some really basic stories to start off with like a simple drama or romance, they instead take him to see Star Trek First Contact, a film filled with confusing technobabble in place of real science and requiring a healthy knowledge of the Next Generation franchise to fully appreciate. But really, the whole point of this is for Ax and his human morph to once again come across food. All scenes where Ax comes across food can be summed up like this.
Cookies!
So Jake and Marco drag Cookie Monster out of the theater and into the parking lot, where they just happen to be in the right place at the right time to see some supposed loony running around clutching his ear and screaming. Jake recognizes this, having experienced it himself. The Yeerk inside the man's head is dying from starvation. Weeks after destroying the Kandrona, and finally the Animorphs are seeing results. This puts the spring into the Animorphs' step. If the controllers lose it, it's only a matter of time before society puts two and two together. Though they've been kind of crappy about that before. Alien corpse, alien spaceships, wild animals, dust monsters, cops, suburbs. Come on! The police grab the guy, and Ax sees one of the cops inject the guy with a rod in the back of the neck, but doesn't tell the rest of the group. The next morning, Ax performs his morning ritual and meets up with Tobias. Ax and Tobias have been gradually forming a friendship of convenience. They both live in the woods, so they only have each other to talk to most of the time. Their conversation is interrupted by a rattlesnake, but Ax quickly incapacitates it, acquires its DNA, and tosses it away. After that little incident, Ax and Tobias head to the woods to the school, where the Animorphs plan to have Ax sit through a few classes. Jesus, guys, you're trying to educate him, not torture him. Fewer hijinks ensue than you'd think. Ax morphs human and masquerades as Jake's cousin Philip, and gets in a class okie dokie. Wow, things at this school got lax after Chapman became a controller. To have a guest at my school, you needed a 2-week notice and a background check. However, during class, one of the teachers freaks out. Turns out he's a dying controller too, and Chapman runs in and jabs him in the neck with the instant death rod. Jake sees it this time and confronts Ax outside.
Jake, are you sick? He shook his head.
Pardue was a controller. The Yeerk was starving. And why? Because we destroyed the Kandrona. Me and you and the others, we did this.
It was necessary, I said. We struck a powerful blow against the Yeerks by destroying the Kandrona.
Chapman killed him, didn't he? Prince Jake said. The little steel cylinder. Did you see that? Not just the Yeerk, but the real Pardue. He killed them both.
There was no point in lying anymore. Prince Jake had seen the truth, and the idea of lying now, here, made me feel unwell inside. If the Yeerk inside the teacher had died, the teacher would have survived and been free, I said. He would have told other humans what happened. He would have warned them. The Yeerks can't allow witnesses. They're going to kill every host whose Yeerks died, aren't they? Prince Jake asked bitterly.
Every human controller whose Yeerk dies is going to be eliminated. That's true, isn't it? Yes. Prince Jake's face showed an expression. I believed it was an expression of sickness. We did this, Prince Jake said. It's war, I said. We then entered the main focus of the story, the fact that Axe has been holding back information from the Animorphs. He's pained to have to do this, but feels forced to by his super-secret Andalite customs. This gets into the brainwashed soldier characterization I've been giving Axe throughout these reviews. If he had an ounce of sense in him, he'd have dropped the silly dogmas early on. But of course he's just a kid. Frankly, withholding vital information in a war is only slightly stupider than sending the alien to school. So the Animorphs start taking turns in shaming Axe. If Axe won't give them information, they're going to give him as much as they can. Marco starts by buying him some books, including a world almanac. They go to Marco's house, and we get to see how life has improved for him and his father since number 5 the Predator. Marco's dad got a research job at the local observatory, and they've moved to a small house in a much nicer neighborhood. While there, Axe finds a program up on the computer, thinks it's a game, and rewrites it to be more scientifically accurate. Then Marco's dad shows up, and he and Axe have an Abbott and Costello routine. So Axe goes back to the woods and reads his books. And no, I don't know how he learned to read English. The book told me many useful things. It took humans only 66 years to go from inventing the first flying machine to landing on the moon. It took Andalites almost 3 times as long. Humans are a very clever species. Someday, if they survive, they could go on to be one of the great races of the galaxy. Of course, Andalites will always be greater.
My dog's better than your dog. My dog's better than yours. My dog's better 'cause he gets kennel ration. My dog's better than yours.
Later, the Animorphs approach Axe, and they're all pretty steamed. Turns out that Axe fiddling with Marco's dad's program just kinda accidentally advanced human technology by a century. If the Yeerks discover this, they'll know an Andalite wrote it, and that puts Marco's dad at risk. Axe also realizes that he just kinda accidentally broke the Andalite law that's keeping him from giving information to the rest of the Animorphs. Axe also realizes that he can modify the radio telescope to open communications with the Andalite homeworld. Just how far is that, Axe? It was about 1 billion Earth miles from my home world. 1 billion miles, huh? Well, by my calculations, that would put the Andalite homeworld, somewhere between the orbits of Saturn and Uranus. Yeah, Axe, you don't know shit. Later that night, Cassie approaches Axe, and they chat for a little while about how quickly humans have advanced compared to other species. And then Cassie, I guess looking to introduce Axe to family-human bonding, asks Axe to join her family for dinner. How? She suggests Axe use his Jakemorph he acquired in number 6 the capture. Because, you see, Cassie's a moron. So, Axe eats chili.
Cookies!
Watches TV, and goes back to the woods with minimal hijinks. Axe manages to convince Tobias to help him with a secret plan, and the next morning they make their way to the observatory. Inside, Axe manages to alter the computers enough to send a signal back to the Andalite government. He tells an Andalite official that what's been going on with Earth, eventually telling him that Elfangor gave humans the power to morph. This pisses off the powers something fierce. Elfangor is a big hero for the Andalites, and it would be bad for morale if the rest of the Andalites learned of his crime of sharing technology. So 2 high-ranking adults pressure Axe into taking the blame himself, covering the truth up and destroying Axe's career in the Andalite forces. Geez, Andalites, way to be dicks. Axe's father comes on the line, and he's a dick too, telling Axe how he has to avenge his brother's death by killing Visor 3. Shortly after, the connection's cut off. Turns out a human controller who works at the observatory has been listening in on the tail end of that conversation.